Well, I'm part of a group of just about 400 agents across the country. We can exclusively offer this service to you. So I'm not surprised you haven't heard of it because I'm the only one around here who's doing it. This platform or this system helped me get that listing. That system is working, and I'm building my whole business on it moving forward. I'm thrilled with it. We're closing deals left and right. We're getting paid. I'm getting paid more than I was on my other deals.
Hey, thanks for joining me today, Donnie. Donnie Bennett is one of my most senior real estate agents that joined me at almost the beginning inception of when I went national back in March or April of last year. Donnie, you've done a really good job with marketing yourself using the platform. And one of the reasons why literally I have you on this call today was I've pitched this product to probably 1,000 agents. In all those pitches I've done, I've literally only had one person within the first 5 minutes of me describing the platform ask me three crucial questions and had an agent say to me, I got it. And you said, Dave, can I interrupt you for a second? Let me get this straight. I have the ability to offer a seller a 0% listing commission. I could still make my money through buyer premium. I have the ability to let the seller have the ability to accept, deny, or offer. So negotiate. So everything's 100% transparent and it goes on the seller side of the HUD. I said yes. And you're like, oh, I get it. That makes sense. This is a great idea.
Done deal.
Can you start by telling our audience today of how you felt that moment when you heard about the platform?
I was super pumped because in my market, and I'm in Rhode Island, there's what I call an 800-pound gorilla of an agent. There's a couple of them, but this particular one was doing some 0% promotion, which I couldn't wrap my head around. And I had kind of an idea what he was doing, but I wasn't crystal clear. And the guy's closing 400 plus transactions a year. He's no slouch. I knew that if he's doing it, it's obviously worth my while. For starters, totally different than what you're doing or we're doing. But just that concept, the 0% concept alone, it's a conversation starter. It's a phone call generator. It's a meeting generator. It's an opportunity to get in front of people because consumers are going to be curious. And that's the first thing about it is, at the very least, you get an appointment out of it. If somebody intelligently looks at it and says, okay, I'm sure they're not losing, but I'm sure this is going to be awesome for me as a seller. So I'm sure I'm going to want to make this meeting. And in this business, if we're talking to people on the phone or texting or emailing, we're not making a connection that we would if we had an upfront, close and personal meeting with them. So first and foremost, any kind of marketing or promotion, that's what we're trying to do. We're trying to get that first appointment where this person looks at us as someone of authority or someone of experience. And so that's one of the first things that went through my mind. But I knew that if this other person is doing something similar, this seems even cooler because of the bidding platform aspect of it. And I know the difference between an auction and an online bidding event. I tell everybody this when I'm trying to explain it. I explain it to agents every day. I explain this to agents. With an auction, the highest price gets it. With an online bidding event, the seller has the right to accept, reject, or counter any offer. That means it comes down to terms. So it's not exactly an auction. Also, totally transparent. There's no robo bidding or automatic bidding. I love that part of it because the person who's bidding is in charge and we get to see it real time live. I think is pretty awesome. But the other difference between an auction and a bidding event, I tell agents, I know why you hate auctions because you can't get paid. But with this, you can. As a matter of fact, the last one that I closed, I paid the buyer agent 3%.
So
And I got good.
I apologize. Let's stop there real quick. So you're literally saying that your initial pitch to your clients is you will sell as little as 0% to sell their home.
That's correct. So when I tell sellers about it, I say we can sell your home for as low as 0% commission. I never say zero because facts on the ground could change. I had one that was a very low dollar sale, and I had to do a different kind of payment structure with that individual. On that transaction, that small one, I had charged the seller a certain amount, and then the rest was coming from the buyer in the form of a buyer's premium. So on that transaction, I got 6% from the buyer in the form of a buyer's premium. And then the seller also paid me actually 2% plus $1,500. I got from the seller and then 6% from the buyer. So 8.5% or 8%, somewhere in that ballpark. So that's what I did on that particular transaction because it was low dollar. And I know the minimum that we have to pay to the easy bidding platform is 1,500. So I just wanted to get, so case by case, but generally speaking, I'm saying, look, as low as 0% commission. And then I never tell them about it by email. I don't tell them about it by phone. I will not broadcast it in any of my videos on YouTube. I get close to it, but I will not share the secret sauce in that format because I want that appointment. So I can see the look in their eye, like you saw the look in my eye during that meeting. Ooh, this is going to be good. So I pitch it as low as 0% commission. There are going to be detractors and haters. I've had ads that I've run, and there's another agent who writes something silly or stupid, and I'm prompt to correct them. Like, don't comment on my stuff with your stupidity or whatever. But just because they don't get it doesn't mean that it's not awesome. No, we're not waiving our money. We're getting paid. I'm getting paid more than I was on my other deals.
And
So
that
that's the thing about it.
and that's something that literally was my biggest part of doing this meeting with you today. Would you say, based on what you feel is going to happen with the fallout of the settlement, do you think this is a better way to make sure a buyer agent is still getting paid for the work they do?
Yeah, that's true. With so many people, and I'm not faulting anybody, I'm not downgrading any agent. We got a lot of agents out there that are awesome, and we have some that are new, still awesome, but maybe not as seasoned. So it's kind of nerve wracking to have that conversation with your buyer. Like, you're going to give me money. And buyers are like, not programmed for that. This is not how it's been forever. So having that conversation can be tough, but it may be mandatory. You got to have that buyer's agreement, but it still makes it tough because buyers are strapped. Prices are high, especially my market. Having another expense added in sometimes makes a buyer bitter and maybe turns on you because they feel like they could just go to the listing agent directly and all that stuff. But yeah, if I'm in a position where I can say, look, we're going to offer you compensation. It could be whatever you want. It's not set in stone, obviously. That's what the lawsuit was about. But yeah, the last deal that I closed, the buyer agent got 3%, and she was thrilled and she was shocked because that's how I put it in MLS. Now, again, that's going to go away and people are going to have to call and ask what's being offered. And when I have my conversation with my sellers, some things are going to be a little bit different because I'm going to explain to my sellers, I have to explain the lawsuit. I have to explain all that stuff and explain, how we broadcast what we're going to be doing in the form of a seller concession, if you will. So it's going to be much easier to have that conversation with my seller than many buyer agents are going to have with their buyers because you want to lock those buyers down and get them to be loyal. And it's going to be much easier to market a listing when we know there's a seller concession being offered and all the agent has to do is call me and ask me. I'm like, yeah, here's how you can get your, X percent, whatever it is your, because if they ask me what's being offered, I'm going to ask them. They don't have to tell me, but I'm going to ask them what their contract with their client says. And I'll act accordingly. But my sellers, basically, I'm going to do a variable. I'm going to offer them what I offer them, and I don't know if I can get into the details here, but it's like I have one right now. The buyer's premium on that transaction is 5%. My transaction before that was 7%. Plus, the way I'm doing it to get as low as 0% commission, that's a premium product.
Yeah.
So I tell the seller, well, it's just like buying down the interest rate on your mortgage. If you want to get 0%, I have an upfront amount of money you need to pay my brokerage. And if you don't feel comfortable paying that upfront amount, you can pay double that amount on the back end. Damn it, if every time they don't choose paying doubles on the back end rather than paying upfront. Works for me.
Yeah.
And so, whereas a $500,000 house might have a commission of 30 grand at 6%, I tell the seller, you can make it 4 grand. And that's I call it an upfront marketing expense. And if it's on the back end, it's still the marketing, or I don't have my commission bill here, but I'll pull one up. But on my commission bill, I believe I call it a marketing and commission reduction fee, something to that effect. And so the seller pays that, and the bulk of the commission is coming from the buyer. So when they bid, whatever they bid, that percentage is added to their number. That becomes our sales price. It's not rocket science. We're not curing cancer. It's super simple. The only problem I've had is at commission time, almost not all, but almost every agent does their commission bill wrong. So we take normal deal. Here's the amount of money. Oh, I'm getting like, 2 to 3, whatever. We'll say 3. I'm getting 3%. And they do the math, and that's their commission bill. Well, on our deals, you can't do that because our deals are the amount they bid plus the commission. That means you do the commission on what I call the net sales price, which is the bid amount.
Yeah.
When they do it on the other amount, the numbers are slightly off. And if you don't pay attention, you're gonna lose a few dollars.
Now,
Uh,
how would you say that the sellers have embraced this when you go in the house?
Depends on the seller. So traditional, normal, everyday home sellers are bewildered in a positive way, and they tend to enjoy the conversation. It's always going to be tougher. Like, this is not set up for, say, commercial transactions.
Yeah.
That's a different animal. The market's different. Everything about it's different. And I've tried the commercial. It didn't work out. I just wanted to see what would happen. But the people who are toughest are, again, in that commercial light. They're the contractors, the builders, the flippers. Those folks are difficult because getting under contract with them, getting them to understand that in order to sell it for this, using this platform, knowing there's a buyer's premium, we'll say 5 to 7%, we have to list it 10 to 15% below your number. And they don't want to do that as much as I'm not taking that. They get defensive, argumentative, angry, and I got to sit there and, mirror them and be like, look, here's how it is. And so they're unwilling. So a couple I've let them push it, and it hasn't worked out. And that's why it hasn't worked out, because then I have to justify to an agent, here's the price, here's the buyer's premium, and the math doesn't math.
Well,
So
I noticed
uh,
I might even have been the first one you did. It was literally a home that had like no plumbing, no heat,
yep, no boiler.
no boiler, no nothing. And if memory serves me right, you got 30 plus bids and like $80,000 more than even the seller had hoped for.
Yeah, that's true. I thought I had a card here for that, but that's true. That property was a disaster factory, to put it mildly. There's just no way that seller he was only going to be able to sell to a flipper or an investor. And they're all lowballers or wholesalers. They're all coming in low. So they wanted to give him, I think, 2.25 or something like that. I ended up listing that for 285. I want to say the sales price was closer to, it was in the, if it's 335, or it was up there with 300, could have been 345. I don't even remember. Matter of fact, I have to look at my history to find that. But that particular property, I had hundreds of people come to the open houses. I lost count, but let's just say it was hundreds each time I did the open house. So I had my whole team there. I had one person on the first floor, one person on the second floor, one person on the third floor, and I'm at the front door like a Disney animatron robot. Hello, how are you today? Hello, how are you today? And they all come through, and I had them go in the front, out the back, and everybody had their clipboards with all the information. And that was a seminar, because I had to keep explaining what we were doing with the platform, with the bidding event. And there were some agents who, said one or two said some not nice things within my earshot, and I'm shy. So I went right up to them and, tried to correct what they were improperly describing to their client, we'll say. But yeah, on that particular transaction, that was my first one. I want to say I did 8.5% on that one too, because he paid me 2.5%. And all I did was, during the listing appointment, I said, okay, what do you want to pay? And he lied to me. And he told me another broker was going to sell his house for 2.5% commission. So I looked him in the eyes, and I know the guy personally, and I'm not the most politically correct person on the planet. So I looked him in the eyes and I said, you're so full of shit, your eyes are brown, but challenge accepted. I'll do it for 2.5%, as long as I'm getting a buyer's premium 6% on the back end. And he said, okay, I don't care. And that's what happened. So on that deal, easy bidding platform, your end was the 1%. The buyer agent in my market was normal, got 2%. and the other 5.5 was mine. So since then, I've improved or altered or elevated what I'm paying to a buyer agent. Sometimes 2.5, sometimes 3. Depends on the circumstances with the particular transaction and what I've negotiated with the seller. So moving forward, I had thought I'd be doing a 7% buyer's premium, but just recently I switched that to a 5% buyer's premium on the current transaction I have, which I am only and because of the rule change here in my state, I'm offering 0 in MLS, but I'm not offering 0 in reality. I'm offering 0. And here's the neat thing. Of that 5%, I'm keeping 3 all day long. If by chance I double end the deal, then maybe it stays at 5. That's probably what's going to happen unless the buyer situation is something I have to go through a lot of work. I'll have that discussion with the buyer when the time comes. But I've allocated just 1%, obviously for easy bidding platform. The other 1% will go towards the buyer's commission, buyer's or to me if I double end the deal. But if the buyer agent requires more, I'm just going to increase the buyer's premium at the buyer agent's request. Here's how we get you paid. We just increase the buyer's premium from 5 to 7, and you'll get 3. Or if you only want 6, it'll be 5 to 2. I'm 5 to 6, excuse me, if you want 2%. So I'm going to be malleable with that because we have the ability to do that. As long as his client's informed, we'll do the appropriate paperwork when the time comes. But right now, my current easy bidding platform addendum says that it's going to be a 5% buyer's premium. If buyer agent and I have a conversation, I'll make an amendment, we'll change it, and that agent will get paid. So in other words, it's going to be much easier because you can't ask for the closing cost credit now. The new language is going to be a seller concession. But just to simplify it, that's how I'm going to do it so that I can then decrease the advertised buyer's premium to make it more palatable for people because 7 was scaring people. 6 wasn't even, some people would be scared by 6, but 6 worked just fine. But I'm going to change it to 5 again to motivate and lubricate activity at my listings. But the key ingredient of everything is if you don't price it right, you are going to fail. And I've had wins, I've had losses, but the losses I was able to turn them all around. I've had none that I had to walk away from. So that's good. Everything's sold. But that system is working and I'm building my whole business on it moving forward. I'm thrilled with it. We're closing deals left and right.
And
Um,
is anybody crying about your marketing? Is anybody saying, "Oh, you're being illegal," or anything like that nature?
okay. So the broad answer is no, but that 800-pound gorilla, one of his agents in his office did tell a seller that what I was doing was illegal because they have the patent on it. So I quickly made a broker call
Yeah.
and got him corrected. But yeah, and that seller's the one who revealed that to me. So anyway, long story short, in general, no, but there are confused people out there, and I don't want to over explain to my competition exactly how everything works. So I deal with them in broad strokes. Do you want to get paid? Yes. Okay. What do you want to get paid? Okay, let's make that work. If I can make it as easy as possible, easy, pun intended, then there's no reason why the agents should be shying away from my listings. Another reason why they should be shying away, because I'm going to price them moving forward 12 to 15% below the value that I perceive. And that's the other thing. When I talk to my clients, when I'm in a listing appointment, I'm telling the seller, keep in mind the 0% or as low as 0% is going to be most of the times will gut me the appointment. Maybe not always, but let's say it's a factor. I'm sure to tell them in person, not through email, not through text, not through phone call, not through smoke signal. I tell them, I can certainly give you this program, but I have criteria for that. They have to understand the buyer's premium and how it works, obviously. They have to understand the value of their house per what I believe is, not what Zillow says it is, or the last agent who couldn't sell their house said it was. I've got a gentleman who's like, oh, they said it was worth XYZ. And I said, okay, and how'd that work out? Aren't you calling me now? Because it didn't sell? Yeah, but another agent said that too. Oh yeah, the agent you told me only sells one house a year. Told you the same thing. This guy who can't sell your house told you. Okay. So he got it. But I'm telling sellers, we have to figure out the value. We have to agree on the value. That's one. Number two, we have to list it for 10 to 15% below that value. And if they're unwilling to do that, I can't give them this 0% or as low as 0% opportunity. I can convert that into a traditional listing. So again, I got the appointment. I'm there. I'm showing them I can be somewhat malleable, and I can roll with the punches. But unless you agree on the price, unless you agree on the price we're going to market it at, which is the opening bid. So what I've also done to alter a couple of my listings was the list price is the opening bid. But in the buy, I'll read this here. Calling all bidders, blah, blah, blah. Bidding for this property will start at $391,000 with a buy it now price of $445, which is what the seller really wants. So not everyone should do that, or not everyone would want to do that. That's just how I approached this particular listing this time, just because I wanted to appease the seller. My price is really, I know. So let's codify that in this here. And if he gets his price, I'll be happy. I don't think he's going to get his price on this particular product. I'm not saying it won't work in some cases, but this particular product has certain limitations, and that's why he is where he is. But by presenting it as a $391,000 listing, so under 400 by a few, and buyer's premium will bring him, even on that deal, I mean, you're going to be at 410 or 12 or something like that out of the gate, or whatever it's going to be. Could he get there? He could. So not every transaction is going to work out the same. The ones I've had that have been gangbusters, they've all just listened to what I said. Okay, it's worth this. We're going to price it here. Good to go.
Yeah.
But when they're not good to go, it can be a struggle bus.
Yeah. I
So,
get it.
but I'm super thrilled. Like, I had an agent ask me, are you doing every listing like this? I said, maybe. Case by case basis.
Yep.
Again, getting the appointment is another crucial part of what this does. And I hate to say this to you, Dave, because you did miss out on a recent sale. I had a waterfront property, was going to be listed at 700,000, and the seller, and I was doing the 0%. Seller was all about it. And the day before, he made me sell it to someone else. The day before the listing was going to go live, everything was signed and ready to go. But the day before, he's like, I want to sell it to this guy. I could have gotten him at least $150,000 more for that particular house. And I know that because I sold the house 4 doors down for $1 million and next door for 1.3. His house had serious problems, water damage, but it was still on the water, beautiful location, double lot. Easily could have been $850,000 sale, and which I could have then, you guys would have gotten 1% of that, which would have been nice. But he pulled the plug at the last minute. And that's an example of this platform, or this system helped me get that listing.
Yeah.
Now, the fact that he was crazy after the fact, I can't, I can't do anything but what he asked me to do. Got to obey your client's legal commands.
Yeah.
But so it isn't just about the houses you sell. It's about the appointments you get and being able to spread the word of what you can do or what I can do differently that makes them go, never heard that before. And then you can confidently say, well, I'm part of a group of just about 400 agents across the country. We can exclusively offer this service to you. So I'm not surprised you haven't heard of it, because I'm the only one around here who's doing it.
No, listen, I appreciate your time today, and I'm glad you could give me the moment to help explain it to, our agents that are already members, and maybe agents that would be interested in possibly offering the same type of products literally anywhere in the country. And the marketing piece that you do, Donnie, is so phenomenal.
Thank you.
I appreciate having you here. Thanks for all your time today. Again, if you need anything, you know my phone number. And as you know, I'll answer it anytime you call. So
Expect that 3 a.m. call.
I appreciate it. All right, man. Have a
Thank you,
great
brother.
day. Thank you.
Too.
I appreciate you, man.
Take care now.